Friday. Friday, last day of April. When you guys come back on Monday, we are in our last month of 7th grade. So close to being done with each other. Hopefully today goes better because kids were in a mood yesterday. That was something. Let's see. Final gospel discussion and test on Monday. We're going to talk about the last part of the book, and then we'll get to the test there. Tie game was Spider-Man. We had one kid in here get it for points. Go that little kid. Let's see. So, hopefully you met with your day of service people yesterday. If you were absent yesterday, you need to go talk to your day of service teacher because they are figuring out lunch on Friday of next week. And so we need to know if you need school lunch, if you're bringing your own lunch. Some teachers are doing lunch together, like for mine, my kids are bringing in money and we're going to order pizza for the day because we're going to be in here painting rocks and hanging out with each other. So hopefully your group meeting went well and make sure you have talked to them. If you have a permission slip that needs turned in, make sure you turn in permission slip. What's up, Smithers?
What happened yesterday?
Kids were just bad all day. I mean, it wasn't just my class. It was like just teachers in the hallway trying to figure out what the kids would just talk and yelling at each other and just not being focused. Just, I don't know, kids have issues. And so it was just like a whole day of like teachers going, what is wrong with kids? And my answer is, I have no idea. Kids just have issues.
On a Thursday of all
You were a kid once.
Well, my guess is kids don't do well with changes, and we had the lockdown drill, which was part of it. We had kids talking about the Sand Creek thing. We had Wi-Fi going out. And I think the more that there are disruptions, kids sort of melt down. And we had a lot of disruptions, and I think kids' brains just kind of go kablarg. So I'm hoping today we reset and have less kablarg, and things go better from there. And then we also had the changing of Best and going to a new location. I think it was just too much for wee little noggins to handle. Hi, Wally.
What does Sand Creek think?
There was
some backstabbing.
There were some issues happening at Sand Creek. It's if you don't know, you can try to talk to people and they'll tell you more information.
It's like they intended to stab Alec with a knife.
So, just to make it official for you, your next checkpoint is finish book over the weekend if you have not finished it. If you have finished it, your challenge then is to not talk about things after the pseudoside. Because we're going to be getting into the pseudoside today, and you can't talk about ending a book, but we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things today to help you out. Let's see, let's get to gospeling. Blah, blah,
Floppy disk.
So, do you have, I see that some of you guys have started turning in sermons. I just wanted to make sure since it's technically due midnight Monday, so I will remind you again on Monday. But I'm just trying to help you not put everything off to the last minute and then freak out. But we're good about being able to complain about things. I look forward to seeing you guys complain. And not just at me, although you can complain about me as long as you're vague. So we're good to go. Alright, our discussion thing. Let's begin with Beta Gold. So, we now officially know who Beta Gold is.
Grandma woman with no life.
Yeah, that seems a little harsh. So, Beta Gold was outed as this lady by the name of Tracy Hawthorne. You don't know it here yet, but it's later determined out that she had a son who worked for one of the ISP companies. ISP companies are the ones who do your internet routing, and that was how she was able to track him down. It's something you don't find out until the second book that he did, and that's when he reveals more of that background of how Tracy tracked him down. But we find out that Beta Gold was not somebody we knew. It turned out to be some random lady-ish, because it turns out he did meet her prior to that. And when did he meet her?
Toothbrush.
She was the toothbrush lady whenever that they were at the Larry Fest, when she didn't have one, and then he loaned it to her, and then he was being nice, and then it turns out it comes back to backfire anyway, because what does she go on to? What was it, like $100 to hold the toothbrush? And
$300.
no, $100 to see it. 300 to
500. 3,000
yeah,
to use it.
whatever. The fact that people did that is whatever is nuts, and there's issues in the world. But we'll get into more of those things from there. Yes.
You should have done the pinky thing when you did the $100,000.
The pinky thing? Oh, I mean, I did it during the reading of the thing for that, but you know, from Dr. Evil, Austin Powers. It's like anyway, it's a pop culture reference over your head. So,
love that movie.
with Beta Gold, this is where a lot of people come off thinking Beta Gold is evil and a bad guy. I'm assuming for most of you, you probably come off thinking the same way, that Beta Gold is evil and a bad guy. But realize you are hearing the story through Josh's eyes. If you are not Josh, think about this from the outside view. There is someone who is anonymous on the internet who is influencing teenagers to do things. And so that scared a lot of adults. One, adults are dumb. I think we can just accept that to move forward. And so adults get freaked out about lots of dumb things. And here we have an anonymous person who no one knows who it was that teenagers were flocking to and sort of blindly doing whatever they wanted. It sort of became a cult, and they sort of really got worked up about who was it that was influencing all of these teenagers. Given what Larry was trying to do seemed like a good thing, but that's how all cults start off. You don't start off a cult going, join my cult, we're going to kill ourselves. You start off going, join my cult, we'll make the world a better place. And then once everyone is joined, then you do the crazy stuff. That's what people were afraid of. So a lot of people backed Beta Gold and thought that what she was doing was a good thing because she was outing this person who was being anonymous.
4,000 signatures.
So my question to you is it good to be anonymous on the internet? Because if we don't know who it is influencing kids, even though we're seeing it from Josh's viewpoint, is it good to be able to out someone who anonymously does things like this? I mean, for those of you who are on social media, how many of you guys have at least one social media account you follow where they never show a face, you don't know who exactly they are? And so, as I know, my kid does the same thing, that there are social media people out there where what they post, you have no idea. Like, they're only going to post quotes, where it's only going to be things where it is just their hands doing a thing. Whereas like an unboxing video, where you can't ever see who their face is, and it becomes that they want to be anonymous so that you can't go all crazy on them, but at the same time, it means it could be anybody who does the influencing. So that's what sort of became scary into that. Any thoughts on Beta Gold before I get to move on to my next thing? No, you guys just accept and stare at me.
She just like has nothing. She's
Like
not
at the
evil,
beginning of
she
the
just
year.
has nothing to do.
Well, I mean, she had something to do. She was just on social media, and she wanted to find out who he was, and so she made it a goal and tracked him down. Ish.
Stop her.
Yes, but...
This is like at the beginning of the year. Aggressive blinking.
Alright, so how about this person?
Oh boy, this is
So, what would have changed your mind? What big reveal does Beth throw out there that may have impacted things?
I know.
Whenever?
Never.
Never mind then, I apologize. Emerson?
I thought she looked him since ninth grade.
Yeah, that apparently she has had a crush on him the entire time, and the fact that she has liked him throughout all of this for the last 4 years, even though the fact that she kept dating other guys, apparently she was playing hard to get, and now, does that still make it creepy when he was talking about her lips?
Yes.
Knowing the fact that she liked him the entire time?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. I thought we'd go the other direction on that one. So, I mean, all right. Does that seem like something a teenager would do?
No.
No.
I mean, no.
Which part of it? Having a crush on someone and never saying anything about it?
That one's normal, but he
Okay.
took it to an extreme.
So, which part strikes you as odd about either one of them?
Everything
Kissing
other.
feet.
Hang on,
He didn't
stop.
kiss her feet. He wanted to.
He wanted
Like,
to.
kiss her feet.
He
We
wanted
had like
to
7 instances.
kiss the
of sexual
tattoo.
harassment.
Smithers.
His fantasies.
It's the weird part.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah, almost like
he does have an active imagination, and he's mentioned that
That's
a
the
lot
way
of
to
times.
put it.
I'm not saying
So,
that.
well, hang on. Too many of you yelling at me at once. I can only process so much. Wally?
Calling her a chocolate snow cone.
Not her.
Her lips.
Just
Lips.
waiting
No,
to be
no.
eaten.
At the beginning of the book, he called her a chocolate snow cone.
I really think he was
Lips.
talking
He's
about
talking
her lips on that one.
She wore brown lips.
I'm not sure it make. I mean, you can go back and look and prove me wrong. It does happen sometimes, but I'm pretty sure he was talking about her lips at that time. But sometimes teenagers get crushes on people and they get awkward. Molly Mouse,
But no, on page 163 is insane.
which
Oh,
Oh,
that one.
so what does it say on 163?
What is it?
that he wants to make.
Oh, that part?
He wants to.
Sorry, because I'm going to talk about page 161 and 162.
I
There's 162.
He said
And
they
then-
were
towards the end of
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That part. Sorry.
Made me.
Again,
That was a little out there.
we're talking about a teen. I mean, he is, what, 18 at this point? if I remember right? I think he was 17 going. I know he had just turned 18 because we're getting into the part with the pseudocide coming up. And so at that point, he was 18. And so, I mean, he is an 18-year-old boy who has a crush on a girl.
But
Yes.
Page 8.
What's it say?
It says, she often wore a certain brown lipstick and outlined the edges of her lips with the pencil she carried in her bag. Every time she talked, it was like this pale chocolate snow cone staring up at me.
Yeah, her lips.
But I could see how they like that. Just like
Can we put Josh on
weird. I don't
track?
describe
could make it seem like it doesn't make sense. That
Here's the.
So it seems like a lot of it, you guys are just bothered about the fact that he has a crush on a girl.
I'm not.
But he's
creepy about it.
I mean,
You can
Well,
have a crush on someone without being creepy.
I will.
Juicy flow.
Having been around teenagers for a long time and having two of my own, I can unfortunately tell you that is probably the least creepy thing in there.
when
That-
he only talks about the way she looks when he has.
Yes, the fact that a boy talks about a girl's looks is also not nearly as unusual as you might think.
Yeah, he like.
Oh, I agree that's how it should be, but that's not the way life works. And he does talk about her personality multiple times when he keeps calling her a strong female. And he says, like, why can you fall for this Todd terrific guy? He just also finds her attractive.
Why are you trying to defend this?
Well, I'm not trying to defend as much as I'm bothered by what you guys are attacking him for. You're like, oh my god, he has hair and wears shoes? What kind of, I'm like, of all the things to attack him for, I'm like, that just seems like basic teenager stuff. If you were attacking his views, I could back you up. But it just seems odd that you guys are going after the fact that he likes a girl and thinks that she's pretty and then like talks about her prettiness. It makes me wonder how many like love notes you guys have gotten. And apparently not many yet, which is fine, trying to not be overly creepy. But apparently in a year from now, when that boy, special someone, writes you that note and you're like, oh my god, you're icky, don't go. I wish you the best of luck. Were you waving at me again? No, I thought someone over there was. Yes.
Okay, you can like someone and think that they're pretty, but like if you're going around saying like, oh yeah.
He's not saying
He
it out
didn't say it.
loud.
He said it in his.
You wrote a book
He's
about it.
like,
It's not.
you can't say that.
And but he didn't. One, he's not like staring at her lips, going.
Yes, he is.
No, it's in his head.
He's still moving. He's still
And
staring
he,
at it.
right, you can think a
Mr.
thing.
Brovicast, I think what they're trying to say is that
In his
it's
delivery.
weird that he wrote down like that he's putting on blast.
Now, part of that is because you have to get to the end of the book to find out what happens about why he writes that. So that's part of, I think, my thing is I know how everything ended, so maybe that's the filter that's going with it. Whereas you guys are thinking a different way,
I
so
finished the
we'll
movie
go
and
with that
I still
direction.
don't understand.
Grapple?
Are we allowed to talk about a thing after the pseudocide?
Not yet, no.
Because there's another instance of him being creepy.
Oh, really? Well, yeah.
Christian's
So-
still reading page 5.
It's a big page.
I didn't say it.
Well, yeah, don't let him hate on you. So then we get to the fact that Beta Gold does do the big reveal, and the fact that his life does change, which he does not like even a little bit with that whole
Very
big
reveal
change.
part.
I mean, he was this guy that was shy and quiet, and then I'm not a big fan of humans sometimes, and this was humans going down a dark path. Molly Mouse?
I think it's horrible how he turned down $10 million.
Sad.
Oh
yeah,
I know.
Let Molly Mouse. Shh. Go ahead. Why?
Money is money.
I don't care
Plus,
what.
guys, all the help.
Hang on. I gotta wait until Peter's done talking. Peter? Because that was Peter's argument in the book also, is that money is money. And Josh said, what about my values? And Peter's like, $10 million. And Josh says, going against everything I believe in.
$10 million.
I would do anything for $10 million. I'm not even joking. I would do anything. I'll rub a
You
big
retire then and there.
So apparently, this is where we find out that unlike some of you, Josh has morals he's trying to stick with.
But $10 million.
I'm aware.
Mr. Krabs.
Gussie?
So,
the $10 million was for like advertisement, right?
Uh-huh.
So I feel like if he didn't want all that attention, like, 'cause,
He
like
does not
sometimes
at all.
if you're just like a famous person walking around and you get all that attention, it gets annoying.
Uh-huh.
And like so, like I feel like if you had taken that $10 million, maybe it wouldn't be a pseudo side, and maybe it would be a sui side.
Yeah. I mean, he was trying to change the world, and so they were asking him to go back against everything he believed in, which now we know some of you would have no problem doing that in a heartbeat, but apparently others are different. Cora?
I feel like even if it's like it's still $10 million he's taking away from another like bad corporation, and he could have just donated it or used it to like change the world. It's still $10 million. They're still losing money.
They're not, well, the problem is
But-
they weren't losing it. They were going to use it to use him to
make
advertise.
To make more money.
Correct. And then, yes, he could donate it, which I agree is correct, but the problem is his message then gets diluted.
I guess.
But then again, his message got diluted anyway.
Anyways.
So it becomes that toss-up between them. Dragoo?
The more commercials you do, the more money that's coming. $10 million, they're gonna ask you to do more. That's just more money coming. I don't care about my morals at that point. That's money.
So you're going to go the full Molly Mouse?
Yeah.
That says a lot about your generation, I see. Hang on.
My whole family is set.
By a quick show of hands, how many of you guys would quickly sell out for that $10 million? How many of you say, no, my morals are worth more than that?
I have no morals.
What type of
Most of them has morals.
It depends on what the $10 million is for. It depends on what my morals are in the situation. Like, Josh, he's kind of annoying, not gonna lie. Like, shut up. Like, we get you hate commercialism, but they're all like bigger companies than you, and they all have like their big security
Yeah,
guards.
how dare you try to save the
Then
world?
just slide ops and like bang bang, you're dead, Josh. But like, so like, but if it's like they're like offering me $10 million to like, you know, do an ad, and I'm not like Josh. Like, honestly, like, like it's like for someone like cool, you know, like so I would take that $10 million. But like, it was like against morals, then it's like. Like,
new morals?
yeah.
I'm learning a lot about you guys.
Care about my morals.
Grapple?
Wait, technically, didn't they do something illegal? Because they did the Josh drinks not Coca-Cola, Mountain Dew on the plane, but he didn't endorse that.
Correct.
Is that technically illegal?
It is, and that's why he could have sued them if he wanted to, and that's where he made.
But you see, he has no money to sue them.
And that's part of the issue is that it takes money to
$1
do
$1
that.
million.
I would agree. So then we get to Josh's big decision.
Before the pseudo side.
And this is, that is before the pseudo side. That's when, there was actually a scene we're going to talk about here in a second. But yeah, so pseudo meaning fake, side meaning death or killing, and this is where he does come up with that whole, I am going to fake commit suicide. If you remember the very beginning of the book, that intro I read from Janet Tashjian, when she meets him, and it says blah, blah, and it says, there you go, that they're
When he
going
was
to
thinking
know
about
that you're not
suicide, I
dead.
Connected the dots.
That's when this came out. After he faked his death, which, spoiler, he's getting ready to do because I had you stop right before he does it. He faked his death. This was the reveal that he was still alive. So that is why he put all of this stuff into the book, because he was trying to get people to, unlike Dragoo and Molly Mouse, and apparently the other 20 of you in here, he was trying to not sell out and bring people back to the I want to do good in the world. So that was why he goes and tracks down Janet, is that he didn't want the book necessarily under his name because he feared people would buy it just because of his name.
Yeah.
And so the idea was by connecting it to someone else, he was trying to do good things. Uh-huh.
Yet people had to pay for the book to read it.
They do. Correct.
Isn't that?
Way back in the day. So we got to Peter being mean. That's apparently many of you guys channeled your inner Peter when Peter's yelling at him for the same thing, not trying to attack you, Molly Mouse. You were just the only brave kid that said the thing that the other 20 were apparently thinking. So you just happened my target at the moment, but be strong. And so yeah, Peter does the same thing when he starts yelling at him. Oh, I don't agree with Peter calling out his dad and the whole.
Yeah, that was a little.
That was questionable.
But I think sometimes when you just found out that your stepson turned down $10 million that you would do anything for, all of a sudden there's a little bit of anger that flares up, and so I think that was Peter with his anger flaring.
I felt really bad, like, for Josh in the scene where it was like Peter was like drunk and making him sign the autographs and stuff. I just felt really, really bad because like he was like, well, at least I'll be able to pay my mortgage. I just felt really like
sad.
that scene
That
was
was a
really
sad
sad.
moment.
And that was part of the problem was the fallout that he did not expect was that with Peter being in advertising, the thing that Josh railed against, Peter's career fell apart. I mean, we find out later on from this that Peter had to quit advertising completely. He actually, spoiler for the future, he becomes a farmer. And
Like
just
Randy
because
Marsh.
he turns his life around, he's like, I can't go down that path anymore, and he realizes, he sort of begins to accept Josh's thinking. It's not really a spoiler because it's not in the book, it was from later on in life. And so that Peter becomes a farmer, gives up all of that advertising because he couldn't go back to it. Because all of his big clients dropped him because they find out that his stepson is the one that was saying that they were all evil. And they tried to get him to turn, but he didn't. Which brings me to page 150. There's a thing that's said, and now I'm really curious to see if you guys agree, because I thought we had different morals. Where it says,
I hate cereal.
no, not the part where he says, I hate cereal.
I agree.
So this is when he was going on the news show with, who was it, the Barbara Walters? Is that who he was talking about? Barbara Walters, when he went on the TV show from Barbara Walters, and they were trying to ask him about things, and all he kept doing was being asked about like superficial things. And so on 150 it says, why don't you ask me about the Larry clubs across the country, or what people are doing to their towns to slay the corporate giants? The producer told me their viewers didn't want to hear about that. They want to know about you. Josh isn't interesting. Larry's work, that's the story. The producer turned to the crew. Get this, a teenager telling someone with almost 50 years of journalism experience what the story is. They all laughed. Then he turned back to me. You're the story, just you. People want gossip. People want sizzle. So my question is, do you agree with kids today? Is that what people want? Do they want sizzle and gossip over content?
Oh, that's a real question. Wait.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, now I was interested to see where your morals lie. Is that where we're sliding to, where people don't...
Somewhere in between.
Gus?
So, I feel like, so when they were asking him this, so this is like, so like with the sizzle and gossip, and we're talking about like with celebrities, because like he's clearly famous.
Mm,
like,
he is
'cause
now.
So, but like, he didn't want to be famous. Like with celebrities, like, they're all normal people, but they just talk about them more because they're on TV and stuff. Like they all live normalish lives, and like they're not all perfect, but like they always like talk about their lives, and so like they're trying to do that to Josh instead of like asking him about his beliefs and whatnot, and so like, yeah,
Do you agree that's how humanity works?
yeah,
Interesting.
sometimes I don't know.
Grapple?
Also, if I was Josh, I would have stormed out the building right then and there.
Yeah, I feel like he was just
But then you
I
give,
don't know why
but then you
yeah.
give them something to talk about.
True. That becomes part of the issues, then that becomes the story. And then him and so
he left because
no matter what, you're kind of hosed at that point. We have more yelling and arguing coming up on Monday. And this weekend, your homework is two things. Read and find your morals, because apparently they might be missing.
Money.